Here's something that just came up for me a moment ago. I I'm not very conscious of it, but I have developed a habit that I think serves me well, and that is to stop and articulate, actually either quietly inside my own head or actually verbally out loud, to sort of to just look at a thing and say, hey, look at you taking care of that. Look at you getting that right. Look at you providing for that. And then maybe add a characterological thing, like I'd set myself up so that I would have a backup supply of water when I know I'm not in the mood to go to the car and get more, right? I made sure I had enough on hand so that when I'm sitting here busy with other things, I can reach over and grab the next bottle and keep drinking, which is part of taking care of myself, staying hydrated. It really is the elixir of life. Water is such an important part of our well-being, and just practicing the presence of mind required to have that is a good practice. So these are all things I need. And when I can see that I've provided for that, this example was, hey, look at that. I set me up. I took care of it and provided for that. I'm good at having backups and contingencies and taking care of myself. And then I turn that into, hey, aren't I a good provider? So that I would kind of identify with the idea that this is a good characterological trait to have and that I possess it. And not to tell myself you're a good person or some like soft, vague concept like that, but to actually go in and say, look at what you did that provides for these things that you know the value of and value for yourself. Look at how this reflects the fact that you have a sense of value around who you are and what you deserve. This is something you're going to move unconsciously to provide for because you would do it for another. And we don't want to break ourselves into little pieces. I've talked about this before, that if we get fragmented, it's bad news. But to understand that we are an integrated team of parts and to use those to take care of ourselves, to see all the all the all of who we are, all the different who's we are, and to get them working in concert so that when I'm tired and I'm busy and I don't want to have to go out in the wind and schlep through the snow to get the other case of water out of the trunk, I know I've already taken a step to provide for this elixir of life, to be there to help me stay in good state, to be a point of practice in um, elevating my awareness and my actions accordingly. We say mindfulness. In this case, I think it's important to specify that this kind of mindful practice is about like really elevating our sense of priority around giving focus to things that we have already evaluated to be of greater value, evaluate value, and in that being able to say, I will I will set my defaults through conscious practice initially, but eventually I'll internalize that as a reflexive pattern of behavior. And you could make an argument that we're basically just the emergent properties of a pattern of behavior. I like how Alan Watts talked about a flame. I got a little fire going right now. We say the flame like it's a singular thing. It's not. It's a stream of particles in the process of combustion, but it's occurring in a pattern that we can call a flame, the flame, whatever. It's flames. It's even the idea of it being a plural. It's more of a force. It's more of a pattern. And I think this is part of why we struggle is English is such a cool language. I love it to pieces. If you can't tell, I collect words for fun. Um, but it's also very misleading. I think Alan Watts talked about that too, about even the structure of the language, the idea that there is a the and these things we need to limit. We need to be able to reduce things down to workable pieces. And in that, there's a natural need for and resulting limitation. And that is absolutely necessary for good functioning in real life. So this isn't against that, but it's understanding what the detriment of that is and saying, okay, yeah, but in limiting it for all these other applications, which are sound, when we go into more expansive, nuanced, organic, irregular places, those limitations are going to cut out portions of the view we actually need to take in and account for. So I just was talking about how I want to be tidy in my thinking and consistent in what I'm working on before I realized this is the subconscious. That's not the right tool for the job. I'm not here to say one tool is better than another. It's again context. Context has become a larger theme for me in my thinking recently. It's always a core element, but right now I feel like it keeps coming up like this, where within the context it may not be the tool for the job. And being able to identify that, not to get hung up on the value of the hammer, but to know whether you need the hammer to fix the light socket or maybe a screwdriver would be a better tool, right? And over here, I don't know what tool you need for the subconscious, but it's a big, broad, messy net, right, of some sort. It's not this scalpel like kind of tool. It's not a structure or system you can plug things into consistently. And it's really a place where you just kind of have to go to a different tool set and being aware of that and using that to determine what we need and then conditioning ourselves through that to understand that we're the flame, but we're really more a process of combustion and our components are particles more than parts. And I think that in doing that and setting ourselves up to use the team to provide for things, in this example given, I've been able to create of myself what it is I want to be, what I admire in others, what I see celebrated, what I celebrate in my own heart. And that's another idea that's come up for me lately. She's everywhere right now. Let's see if we can go for the ride. She lost the thought. Talking about how there are too many tabs open. I lost the tab. Um, Celebration. We we celebrate heroes. We celebrate saints. We celebrate why? Because the moral code and the attributes required to qualify for that, she's not wording well today, for that category, right? It becomes a group of traits and values that we can sort of cluster and identify as honorable and of some virtue and to move toward that so that again when I'm in those quiet moments alone with myself I can be like, hey, look at me being a good provider, and I can identify with that because there's an unconscious drive to identify with things. And I'm always warning people, be careful, don't get caught in the identity of something. But again, it's the tool for the job. When the work is to build a self-concept and to create a way of being in the world that is consistent with that desired self-concept. This is the concept of, again, dissonance, um, ego dystony, I forget how you say it. Yeah, ego dystonic and ego syntonic. So our sense of self feels ego syntonic when we are consistent with what we say and what we do. We have an integrity meter at a like visceral level. It's almost somatic that we just feel it in our guts when we're being dishonest or inconsistent or dishonorable. There's a little like pushback on that if we're healthy. Some people don't have that. Those people have personality disorders instead. But for most people, we're gonna feel this like ooh kind of dissonance in our ego. So you get the ego dystonic states. and that causes distress. And since mental health is about reducing that kind of distress, we move to be in a way that's consistent. And so being able to identify what, at least in my own, on my moral map, these things are virtuous. And if I say I value those and then I live in a way that shows I value those, there's a peace, there's a consistency, there's a harmony in me. And so I'm looking for that syntonic state ultimately. And it sounds dumb, but reaching over and seeing I did have another bottle of water made me be like, hey, look at you, you're getting it. And I know this is embarrassing for people who haven't struggled with these issues. This must sound absolutely pathetic and absurd. Like, what do you mean you set yourself up with water? Good job, grown up. But listen, a lot of us are out here not fully in our adult selves. A lot, probably most of us in some capacity. You see people out there accomplishing things, they're go-getters, they have all these things on paper you can look at and be like, wow, way to go. But in so many ways, there's still these like points of arrested development, I guess. Maybe you can run a multinational corporation, but how's your personal life going? Or maybe you have a great personal life, but for some reason you can't seem to get up and get back to school and start that business you've been thinking of. Whatever it might be, we usually have one domain where we're pretty together, we're pretty accomplished, and then of course we favor that. And like if you do that with your body, you have like an injury to one leg and you're always favoring the other one. One leg gets stronger, one leg gets weaker, and the whole structure comes out of balance. Same with our psyches. So when a person's come to a place where they've been disintegrated, broken into all these pieces, and like poof, turned into dust in some cases, at least at a psychic level, like body, mind, spirit are just shattered from each other. Putting that back together. A lot of this is coming from a place of trying to put that back together and understand that it's almost a fatal prognosis in some models. If you said this is what you've got to work with, most conventional models would be like, there's nothing for that. Sorry. It's a lost cause. But I don't believe that. I believe if we do this work diligently and we continue to do it, maybe not even consistently, but keep circling back, keep getting on the horse, keep going again. These things, I think you can, particle by particle, put it back together. It's like a teleporter. It's a very primitive teleporter. Taking myself from the bad place to the good place here. And yeah, I was thinking how we refer to heaven and hell like that. Taking myself from hell to heaven, one particle at a time. These things actually matter. So, yeah, if you think this sounds absurd, congratulations. You may be okay. You might be in a place where this is not helpful to you, but also do consider that there may be places in your life where this would be the tool for the job, because if you do a full inventory, and maybe this is something I need to work up. I've been thinking I want to sit down and write something where it's like columns of life domains. And I don't really want to look at how other people have done it yet. I kind of want to fumble around and do it from a naive place and see like you think about relationship with myself, relationship with my body, relationship with my image, relationship with my immediate environment, relationship with my environments at large, relationships with other people under the banner of family, friends, employers, coworkers, neighbors, people to whom I provide services, people who provide services to me. Like you just do all the domains of relationships with others. Then you can be like relationships with my ambitions, my aims, my execution. How am I doing in terms of resources, status? Do I have a lot of legal problems? Do I have a lot of interpersonal drama? Look in all these different ways and find where like, hey, I'm actually doing pretty well in these columns, but these two are falling short and that one's just tragic. I gotta go fix that one because we almost always have a tragic column. Like you spend enough time with people, everybody's struggling with something. The struggle is real. So, in response to the struggle being real, I'm trying to come up with real solutions that may sound silly and absurd in some way. But again, it's being able to look at that and be like, hey, look, I took care of me. Good job. I'm a good provider. And identify with that concept because subconsciously, if my system believes that I'm a good provider and I take good care of myself and others, it's going to prioritize the things that allow for that. If I say, fuck, I'm always messing this up, I never remember, I don't take good care of myself, I probably don't even deserve to take good care of myself, nobody else cares, why should I? That same system's going to run off of that message and give you the crap results that you see people struggling with all the time. I know I'm not alone in this. I see what's going on out there and I know people. And I'll tell you, we all struggling with something, and it's usually around these weird little glitches in the programming. And maybe you don't like the idea of me saying programming and computers, but it's a wonderful way of conceptualizing this m- more complex, more mysterious, divine force that is our self-awareness, our intelligence, our ability to act. Those are improbable gifts we have, and it's very hard to comprehend and articulate them, even with all our understanding of psychology and neurophysiology and everything else. Sociology, we've learned that a person is a person in a context. Again, any school of thought around psychology that seems to have good and applicable use for me tends to be around understanding that a person is a part and a product of their environment, and that contextualizing behaviors within the framework of relationships and environment, these other things I just said belong on a chart, really gives you the insight into what's going on and how to best um, target the problems and apply the remedy. So this is a remedy that occurs to me is simply seeing it, calling it out. As we say mindfulness, but that's very vague and it includes a lot of things and it has different flavors. So for me, it's this act of saying, I know I need something. I'm going to prioritize that. I'm going to identify with my ability to provide for that. I'm going to send my subconscious the message that I'm capable of that, that that's a good thing, that I gain self-esteem. We talk about self-esteem, and I think the self-esteem movement may have done more harm than good, but we do need to be able to have a sense of value in ourselves, like of worth, of quality, of understanding that we are of good character and we are capable in these things. Being able to have a functional picture of that, yeah, boosting our sense of self in those ways is part of making ourselves strong and bright and integrated and capable, such that our lives work out the way we want our lives to work out, such that the people around us can have their lives work out the way they want, and we can bring all that good together instead of bringing all the janky, jagged whatnot into some sort of, I don't know, it's like a wrestling match with bags of broken glass and angry cats. Like it's not what we're going for. So yeah, me finding a backup bottle of water. Here we are. 18 minutes and 55 seconds into this. All right. I had some stuff to explore, and there it is. I hope some of it was coherent and usable. All right. Bye bye.